opportunities and how to overcome the cold start, how to overcome the challenges to start your journey with Amazon. Let me introduce the speakers, our beloved guest speakers today. Mr. Samuel Lu, founder from Naoki Matcha, Ms. Crystal Ren from the founder of Adult Lifestyle and Vera, and Miss Marina Chen Wu, founder of Equal International. You guys are familiar with the faces. And Ms. Chính from Amazon Global Selling Vietnam, expert with a lot of experience working with the sellers. So let's start the discussion today. I believe that the preparation for the Amazon journey will start even before creating the Amazon account, right? So the first question will come to Ms. Chính. From the moment the seller has a business idea to sell on Amazon, what is the first thing he or she needs to prepare, and how long does it take for this preparation step?
So thankfully, can believe that is one of the questions from the seller, right?
Yeah, I think that is the question coming from the seller. So we would like to have this one in Vietnamese, Vietnamese. Câu hỏi này thì Natalie sẽ bắt đầu bằng tiếng Việt để cho chị Trinh có thể trao đổi thêm các anh chị ở đây. Câu hỏi là từ cái thời điểm mà nhà bán hàng có cái ý tưởng để kinh doanh ở trên Amazon cho đến khi mà bắt đầu bán hàng, thì điều đầu tiên mà nhà bán hàng cần phải chuẩn bị là gì, và thường thì sẽ mất bao lâu cho cái sự chuẩn bị này?
Xin cảm ơn. Sorry guys, because like the question from the seller, so I would like to answer in Vietnamese so it's easy for them to understand. Yeah. Then trước khi mà cô cả câu vì câu hỏi đầu tiên đúng không, thì rất là cảm ơn, không biết là đến từ bạn nhà bán hàng nào ạ? Cho Trinh xin một cánh tay được không ạ? Anh hỏi em hồi nãy đúng không? Sao lại ngại vậy? Tại vì sau cái buổi này, bởi vì đây là một câu hỏi rất là hay, nên là sau buổi này thì anh có thể đến gặp em trực tiếp để được nhận tư vấn 1-1 hoàn toàn miễn phí ha.
So after, thank you for a great question. So after the conference, you can come and see me and we can have a one-on-one consultation, completely free.
Rồi, vậy thì quay trở lại câu hỏi. Khi mà anh bắt đầu có một cái ý tưởng để kinh doanh trên Amazon, hay mình gọi là tạm thời có một cái ý tưởng về sản phẩm nào đó le lói ở trong đầu, và mình muốn bán nó trên Amazon thì mình phải làm gì? Thì câu trả lời là có 2 phần mình cần phải kiểm tra nha. Phần thứ nhất là mình cần phải kiểm tra được cái nhu cầu của thị trường, mình kiểm tra xem là cái ngách sản phẩm đó nó đang phát triển như thế nào. Và cái thứ hai là mình cần phải kiểm tra được cái khách hàng họ đang cần gì ở ngách sản phẩm mình cần mong muốn, mình đang chuẩn bị bán hàng. Vậy thì làm sao để kiểm tra được nhu cầu của ngách sản phẩm? Rất là dễ à. Mình có thể kiểm tra được cái độ lớn, dung lượng của thị trường nè. Mình kiểm tra được cái số lượng mà đối thủ cạnh tranh mới tham gia vào Amazon những năm gần đây xem tăng hay giảm nè. Mình kiểm tra xem là coi có ai là ông bự không. Ví dụ mình vô một cái ngách mà mình thấy ôi 90% đến từ một bạn rồi, thôi bỏ không làm nha. Rồi vậy thì và mình kiểm tra thêm cái search volume của ngách, xem nó tăng giảm hàng tháng ra như thế nào để mình nhận định được là cái ngách sản phẩm này đang phát triển tốt hay không tốt. Và sau đó nữa là sao ạ? Tiếp nhỏ nữa là mình vào đối thủ cạnh tranh, xem thử xem là hàng tháng mấy bạn bán được nhiêu sản phẩm. Amazon công bố những cái số lượng bán trên mỗi ASIN còn gọi là định danh SKU ở trên Amazon thôi, và mình có thể lên cái trang sản phẩm trực tiếp ở trên Amazon đó, và mình có thể kiểm tra được cái số lượng đó hàng tháng. Kết hợp hai thông tin lại với nhau thì mình sẽ biết được là vậy thì cái ngách sản phẩm này đáng để cho mình nghiên cứu tiếp hay không.
Yes, so for any sellers who would like to have, you want to sell or you have a product and you want to onboard with Amazon, firstly you need to understand the demand, what is the growth of the niche or the category. Secondly, you need to understand what the client is looking for that particular niche or category, and you can do that by the following steps. First, you need to identify or analyze the scale of the market. Secondly, the quantity of the competitor, whether that increase or decrease over time. Third one is the fragmentation of that category. And number 4 is the search volume for that product, is it increasing or decreasing, to understand the demand scale. And number 5 is holistic competitor analysis through the volume sales. And also we have a tool called ISIN, where you can identify the SKU of the product, and you can use that directly on our Amazon Global Selling to look for that particular product and perform analysis yourself.
Còn quay trở lại với nửa câu hỏi thứ hai thì mất bao lâu để cho cái bước chuẩn bị này? Thì câu trả lời là cũng tùy ạ. Có thể là một vài seller mình mất hàng tháng, một vài seller thì mất 2 tuần. Nhưng mà thương mại điện tử mà, một cái môi trường rất là nhanh và năng động. Nhưng mà nếu mà mình kỹ quá, thật ra là kỹ là tốt rồi, nhưng mà cố gắng làm sao cho cái bước tiền chuẩn bị ý tưởng sản phẩm dưới 1 tháng. Thì bởi vì khi mà mình càng lâu á, thì làm sao khi mà đợi mình 2 tháng, 3 tháng, 5 tháng, 6 tháng thì lúc mà hàng hóa của mình sẵn sàng hết rồi, mình đang chuẩn bị bán rồi, thì lúc này là gì ạ? Đối thủ cạnh tranh mới bán cùng ý tưởng của mình xuất hiện ở trên Amazon rất là nhiều, thì mình vào thị trường nó lại càng khó hơn.
And to answer about how long it takes for the preparation step, it depends. Some sellers take up to months, but some sellers can take only 2 weeks. And for the e-commerce, it's rapidly changing every day. So it's a question of whether you can move fast or you will slow down and you will lose the first step or the momentum. So with the preparation for the idea and the products, it's ideally less than a month. So if you need to wait for 2 to 6 months, it's too long, and maybe the competitors who have emerged as well for that period, there are many of them, and it will be harder for you to penetrate the market.
Không biết là em đã trả lời được câu hỏi của anh chưa ạ?
I hope I responded to your question.
Đúng ạ. Thì có gì sau cái buổi hội thảo, sau cái buổi này thì anh có thể liên hệ trực tiếp với tụi em để được tư vấn chuyên sâu hơn. Cảm ơn vì một câu hỏi hay ạ.
You can directly contact us after the conference for an in-depth consultation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Chính. I believe that the preparation step will take a lot of effort, but the beauty and also the challenge of cross-border e-commerce is the velocity, right? You can, and Jake also suggests that we should do it fast in order to capture the opportunity. And also get back to the preparation. Let me direct the question to Marina from Equal. So when you decided to start cross-border e-commerce on Amazon, how did you research about the market and the products, and what are the factors to consider in product selection?
Yeah, I think I actually had answered this earlier on when I presented to the group, so I won't go through it again. But again, the thing I focused on was what kind of room there was within the category. So for us, for example, what we had seen in the straw category, which is where we launched our product, sustainable straws, is that there was room for a brand to be built, there was room for a premium product, and there was room for a product from Vietnam. There was not any specific product from Vietnam at the time. Most of them were from other parts of Asia. So we saw those as opportunities for us in the market. And then on top of that, we also saw an opportunity for products that weren't available. For example, coconut straws that we had launched from Vietnam were not available on the market, no matter how much we had searched. So it was a combination of all that led to us launching what we did. And then in terms of the variety that we had launched, we basically just took what we did at the pre-launch stage, where we had launched 5 different types of straws, and we launched those same 5 straws onto the market. Did they all work? No, but we learned very quickly through Amazon and through the sales. So that's how we had launched.
Pretty much a top-down approach, right? When you select the category first and then go deeper into the product level.
Yeah, I mean, ours was a little bit different. We had already validated the market prior to that when I launched onto Kickstarter, and then we just launched the same products. That didn't really work for us, as I mentioned, and we learned that very quickly on. But yeah, we had already done the research prior to that. So.
Thank you for your answer, and also similar question I would like to ask Samuel. How do you define the product you sell on Amazon?
So I think for us, we didn't start off selling matcha. We sold my glass teapot, as my co-founder Xin shared earlier today. We decided to move on to matcha because we were looking for something with potential for recurring revenue and something in which you could build a solid brand around. So at the time when we launched, matcha was just starting to become popular in the States, but everyone kind of promoted it as a superfood, like a healthy thing, right? And because both of us enjoy we like to drink green tea, right? So we thought that there was an opportunity in creating a brand that not just talked about the health benefits, superfood status, all that kind of usual stuff, right? But also pay homage to the fact that this is a unique Japanese product, as well as the fact that it's a food product, right? So taste is a great element. So by focusing on those two kind of factors to play around, that's how we define our initial kind of like brand and product proposition.
Thanks, Noel. Let me just remind the audience to use the headphone if needed. Xin anh chị là mình đang có cái tai nghe ở trên cái tai nghe phiên dịch ở ghế ạ, cho nên nếu mà anh chị nào có thể là gặp khó khăn trong việc lắng nghe thì mình có thể dùng tai nghe nhé. Okay, thanks Samuel. So to follow up, because after you define the product, I realized that Singapore is not very strong in manufacturing. So how do you manage to get the suppliers, and how do you manage the process of working with them?
Right. So I think because we are from Singapore, and Singapore doesn't have a lot of manufacturing, right? So a lot of things are imported, and therefore as consumers, individual consumers, we are very used to shopping online directly from other countries. So this kind of attitude really brought us to have the confidence to just go directly to Japan, to start talking to people, finding out where to find the best product, how to iterate on the product itself. In terms of difficulties, there were many. First of all, you have like a cultural divide, language divide. But it did help that the co-founder Xing spoke a little bit of Japanese, so that helped a bit. But of course, that's only the first part to get the foot in the door, right? You need to build trust, and that comes with time, with patience, and yeah, persistence. But at the end of the day, I think all these barriers to entry help, because once you climb these barriers, then actually they're there to protect you as well.
Right. So building a very trustworthy relationship with those suppliers is super important for the sellers, right? Thanks, Samuel. So right now we have the preparation step, we work with the suppliers, and now it comes to bring the products to the marketplace. Question to Marina. Sourcing product is not easy, and then bringing the product to the market is not easy too. So making the product outstanding and appealing to shoppers is very important. With Equal, do you have any advice to sellers regarding this area?
Yeah, so again with Equal, we went a very specific route, which is we decided to build a brand within this category. This is a category where typically there were not brands, they were all what we considered commodities, no-name brands, no-name manufacturers. So we went that route. You don't exactly have to follow this route, but for us, we followed this route. And what worked for us in this area was, one, obviously we had very standout, beautiful, fun, colorful packaging, which was one thing that was very distinct in the category. And the second thing is we actually spent a lot of time building our brand store. So we told our story of how we're made in Vietnam, we're a brand from Vietnam, why we started the company. We leveraged all the tools on the brand store to go ahead and tell our story. And then on top of that, all of our listings were very different than any of the listings at the time. We showed the entire production process, we told people about Vietnam, we showed 3 different videos for a straw, which again was not very common at the time. So we focused a lot on our storytelling to build our brand on the Amazon platform.
Right, thank you. So it's not about creating a very beautiful listing, right? It's about telling the whole story of the brand.
Oh no, you have to build beautiful listings. Like they should be nice. They should be very nice, visually appealing listings. But that was our brand. You know, our brand was very beautiful, very nice assets, tons of videos, tons of images, and that's what made us stand out. I think you should still spend a lot of time on your listings. You should make them look nice, easy to read, no spell mistakes, and spend time on them. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I think that Amazon offers a lot of tools and products so that you help you bring the stories and then the product into the large numbers of customers, right? So, Crystal, I got a question for you on the similar topic. How do you like when already the product has a good listing, you create the brand story, and how do you price the product to ensure profitability and competitiveness in the market?
In business school, we typically have two ways of pricing market. In fact, pricing is actually a lesson, and it really is a very profound, academic topic that you can really create algorithm and stuff like that to price your product. In fact, there are third-party softwares right now that can help you to monitor the pricing in your market to optimize your profitability for Amazon sellers. But in general, there's two ways to price your product. The first one is bottom up, which is that your cost of goods sold plus, right? So typically your cost of goods sold is about 20% to somewhere 13% of your profit, your price. And then your price should be about like 5 to 7 times of your costs, basically. And then that would ensure that you have enough money to cover PPC, logistics, Amazon referral fee, etc. And also have enough money to invest in your next batch of order and other business expansion activities. Another way to price your product typically is to look at the market and see what are the competitors' price are. And then, so typically for me, I would take a haircut of 10 to 20% of the market average for the top 10 products in my category when I launch my product. And then over time, once the sales volume comes up, and then I have good rating that I can justify to move the price a little bit upward. The rating is not good, then you kind of justifying moving the price downwards from there. But if your product is like a blue ocean, nobody's heard of like really genius like invention, that's when you, like I would say that you all need to do some testing to find out what is the willingness to pay from the customer side, where you can then either maximize your profit or your revenue from that price point.
Very insightful sharing. Thanks, Crystal. Just in the previous session, we have like a quiz in here, right? Talking about like 10, 11 cost. Sorry, I don't have 10. Okay, 10 types of cost arrays for the sellers to sell on Amazon, and a lot of them can be optimized and then have the room for you to place with the pricing later, right? And then I believe that pricing is also only a part of the business plan. So let me direct the next question to Samuel. How do you view the business case when you start Naoki Matcha? And then in your opinion, is it a must to invest a lot of money into the business?
Right. So I think this kind of question comes up quite a lot, which is essentially how much do I need to start selling, right? I think probably the more productive question to ask yourself is, what can I do, what can I learn, who can I get to know, what relationships to build in order to reduce this cost. So just let me illustrate, right? When we started, when we launched Naoki Matcha, we did so with 10,000 Singapore dollars. In today's context, I think that's considered quite a small sum to start with. But I think if, let's say, Naoki Matcha was disappeared, right? But I still had the same relationship that we have now. We have the product knowledge that we know now. We have the market knowledge that we know now. I think that we can probably, maybe like a 90% chance of doing it all over again with the same $10,000. So I think that's the difference that being prepared makes.
So let me just recap it. Is that you say the investment will be depending on your goal and then on your product, but we should have like a spare to do extra investment along the way, right? Okay, thanks Samuel. Very good tips for all the new sellers. And then the question comes to Marina next. So logistics is one of the most important pillar when sellers are selling globally. When you start Equal, which logistics solution did you define and why?
So when we started Eco, we did two types. So we did both FBM and FBA. I don't know if most of you are familiar with this. FBA is fulfillment by Amazon, and then FBM is fulfilled by merchant. We did both at the time because we had a third-party logistics provider that actually warehoused our products. What my recommendation to do is actually to utilize both at the beginning. If you can bring it into Amazon when you start, great. That means you probably are very good at predicting your inventory. You're probably not selling on any other channels. But for us, what we did was we sold on other channels as well. So we had FBM. It made sense for us to register both FBM and FBA. FBA, obviously, you have a lot more benefits. It could be a faster shipment. It could be a more trackable shipment. You might have benefits such as prime shipping, things like that. So I would leverage both if you can. But if you can predict very, very well your inventory and predict how much you're going to sell, feel free to do FBA. But for us, we did both because we needed to sell on other channels as well.
Thanks, Marina. So again, it depends on your product, right? And then also your channels to distribute the product. I believe that when you start doing with both FBM and FBA, how do you work with the suppliers to ensure the fulfillment is timely and correctly fulfilled?
So we chose a like a third-party logistics provider that was already integrated with Amazon. So it was very easy for us. It was the system already connected directly. We didn't have to do anything. The orders automatically shifted over. And the great thing for us is, again, we did FBM, actually primarily just in case we ran out of inventory in FBA. That was actually the primary reason, and it happened a few times, so it just switched right over. So yeah, I mean, it was very easy for us. We just chose one that integrated right in.
Right, so having the right service provider and suppliers who can adapt quickly to both FBA and FBM are super important for your model of business, right? Just to clarify a little bit, because this room has a lot of new sellers, prospect sellers. FBA is again, just I know that you're aware of this along the seminar today, but FBA fulfillment by Amazon is the solution where you ship all the products to Amazon warehouse, and then Amazon will be responsible for the last mile delivery and customer service, while FBM is another fulfillment method that you are responsible on your own to deliver the product to the end customers. So both will have, I would say, advantages and then challenges. So you can do more research when you are going home. But then from the experience with Marina, she started with both FBA and FBM from the beginning because of the products, because of the sales channels. Thanks, Marina. And then the question comes to Samuel. When you first started about logistic management, did you have any difficulties, and how did you manage to overcome that on the first year?
Yeah, so we had a lot of logistical challenges in the first year. First of all, it's a food product, and then you need to make sure that the quality is okay. And I mean, even things like the packaging material, right? Is it light proof? Is it oxygen proof? All these things play a part. And of course, you need to make sure that your product is fresh, you keep it in expiry date limits, all that. That's all very important. But how we overcome them was that we really had to get better at forecasting sales and planning growth properly and coordinating within like the entire team to make sure that when you say that I'm going to sell X units a month, it's within that margin of error, so that you can order in time and fly it in time. Because time is of the essence for food products, and we want to keep up the freshness because we want to give a high quality product, right? So you need to make sure that all these things are in control.
Why do we emphasize a lot about the first year? Because I believe that all of the sellers are sharing the same experience, right? Challenges comes on the first year a lot, and then once you have the momentum, everything would be easier in the next year, right? And then we talk about the preparation, we talk about the product, we talk about the logistics, and then it comes to another important pillar of building business on Amazon is about the brand. So let me ask Crystal, you have 2 successful brands on Amazon. about lifestyle and Vera, and how important, from your point of view, how important is building brand in selling on Amazon, and how much of time and money a seller should invest in this pillar?
Well, I think brand can be very important. Branding can be very important, or doesn't need to be that important. Depends on the product or category that you're selling in fact, there's a lot of big sellers. They don't really have any brands at all. They sell assortment of different kind of products. They still make pretty good money, right? So, like I would say, if money is your goal, like you don't, and especially short-term money, like you don't really need to build a brand. I think that's optional. But I do think that brand itself, if you build it well, it will have its own intangible value, and later on will transpire into a tangible value to you, right? So, for example, in accounting, like branding, a good brand is intangible asset, and when you exit your business, if your brand is well known, people do place premium on your brand, right? So. The logo of Nike is worth like $20 billion, just that logo itself. There's no shoes, like no clothes, like just that logo, and they have an entire department to manage the Nike logo usage of that, right? So, like Nike, that's why like Nike is such a strong brand. And I think that if you wanted to build that kind of asset, you need to understand this is not going to be achieved overnight. And you need to put like a solid time and effort and investment into it. And only after a few years, perhaps a few decades, you can reap your harvest. But so for those sellers, I think that there are good tools on Amazon that you can do these kind of practices. And I think that Amazon in recent years have been putting a lot of emphasis on brand building. So from like anywhere between like listing A+ content, video creation, storefront management, Amazon posts, email management with your customers. There's a whole host of branding tools where you can have a branded and consistent communications and messaging between your customer and yourself. But let me emphasize on that. I don't think this is 100% required. It really depends on your goal. But I personally like to build brands because, in case your product's doing very well, your brands that do very well, you can really, that can really be a premium for you.
Thanks, Crystal. So in short, it's like not a short journey, right? It's like a long game plan. But then I remember you mentioned about some of Amazon tools over there, A+ content, storefront. So if you needed to rank or select the most important tools that Amazon helped you to build your own brand, which would you choose?
Okay,
Three of them, say.
Yeah, I think, so I would choose maybe two. The first one is A+ content. It's just because everybody these days is using it, right? So like, when I first started in 2020, like A+ content, I believe either wasn't there, or like there are a lot of people using it. But now it's pretty much mandatory for everyone to use A+. Doesn't matter whether it's for brand building or it's for kind of, is for elaborating on your listings and having more keywords in it, right? So I think that you needed to utilize that. And second one is storefront. I think storefront is important for cross-selling, upselling, to showcase different, your product category to potential customers so that they can buy more stuff from your store. It's also a great place to do promotions, in holiday seasons and different kind of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, having your front page promotion there. So I think these two are probably the ones that I would say like you should utilize if you aren't utilizing them.
So the first one comes the A+ content, and then storefront, and then promotion and seasonal, and the deals that Amazon offer, right? So Samuel and Marina, do you have anything to add on for this one, based on your experience? The tools that Amazon help to build the brands?
Nope, mine are the same.
Right, Samuel?
So I would say that with brand registry also comes brand analytics, and that is, I think, the biggest game-changing tool that Amazon has provided in the last 2 years. When we first started selling in 2016, sorry, a bit before that, but there actually wasn't even brand registry. And then it was brand registry 1.0, and now in its current form 2.0. And we've seen that development over the years, and it's really amazing, and we're very happy for it.
Right. So yeah, please remember the guest speakers just shared about their importance in the tools and the importance of them to build your brand on Amazon. I would like to ask the same question to all the guest speakers, because you guys seems like are overcome quite similar challenge. Of course, the stories are different, but then the challenge might be also on the first year can be quite the similar thing you guys shared. For the first year on Amazon, what was the hardest to forget experience in your first year? And then from that, any advice to all the prospect sellers today? The hardest to forget experience, like the worst experience of the first year on Amazon.
Yes, so the first year I think it was difficult for me just because that was the first time I sold on Amazon, but also the first time I was, being an entrepreneur. So I think the most difficult part was that mindset shift where, you're used to kind of receive a salary at the end of the month to that you need to build everything and you need to invest in a lot of money and not to see the result of it for, a period of time. On top of that, like not really knowing what I was doing, right? So like I didn't really know whether I was doing everything right. And also on top of that, long hours. So I was working 7 days a week for half a year just to learn the rope of Amazon. And I think that challenges like, my account got shut down after like a month or two and not knowing whether I was gonna get my account back. And also going to like year-long lengthy lawsuit with my service provider in China. So all these things are really like your day-to-day, like I would say like day-to-day challenges where some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. But I think it's just very normal, to be honest. Like in entrepreneurship, I've never heard anyone saying that being your own boss is easy. You're in fact very stressed out. But I've learned to just take it as what it is, accept that there will be challenges on the way, and accept that sometimes things are just not out of your, they're out of your control, right? So you can only control what you can. And you don't need to suffer from it if you accept it and then you deal with it and you move on.
Hello?
So I think that mindset switch really it was almost like a mandatory for me to grow as a better entrepreneur.
Right, thanks Crystal. And I talked to some of the sellers, they shared the same story that someone joked that they left the job 9 to 5 job. And then start working 24 per day. And then
có gì em gọi lại
that's the most challenging for most of the sellers
Dạ.
starting from their corporate backgrounds, but then happy that you are here and then experience their first year and then having success later on. And that Samuel, you have the story to share with the audience.
Yeah, so I think the hardest to forget memory is the very first shipment that we ordered from Japan. We actually shipped it to Singapore first because we wanted to look at the product and all that. And at that point in time, we were still living with our parents because we were quite young then. So we didn't expect the number of cartons to be that large. So we took up a lot of space in our parents' house, and that was a bit embarrassing. And then because we had to individually label each can, apply like the FNSKU and all that kind of stuff, right? So we together spent I think like more than a few hours just doing that for the first batch. And that was like quite a humbling experience. And then I think after that we really appreciated like what prep service companies do for you and logistics. And I think after that, whenever like they face difficulties, we tend to be a bit more understanding and like give them a break because we know that it's hard work. And it's good that they do it for you.
Wow. Did you encounter the problem once again in the second year?
Thankfully not, because things are more regular, so we just ship everything to our prep service company that will label things for us.
Right. That's good to hear that you learn from the mistake, right? Yeah. Thanks, Samuel. And then Marina, your story?
Chắc là Marina nói hàng tiếng Nhật nha. So thứ một thì cái này thì không phải Marina gặp cái chuyện này mà có một bạn mà có cái công ty mà gặp cái chuyện này. muốn bán mấy cái sản phẩm ở trên Amazon thì phải là cái sản phẩm mà muốn bán nhanh mà chắc là bán 1-2 năm thôi, hay là muốn bán cái sản phẩm và bán dài và bán lâu hơn mà chắc là bán chậm hơn. Thì đó thì cái chuyện khó nhiều nhất, because mấy cái sản phẩm này là giống như một bạn thì có bán cái sản phẩm này giống như mấy cái khẩu trang đó, thì ở trong 2020 thì có nhiều người mua nhiều lắm, mà xong 2023 thì không có ai mua. Thì coi chừng mấy cái này muốn bán cái sản phẩm nào, cái sản phẩm mà bán nhanh mà 1-2 năm thôi, hay là cái sản phẩm mà bán dài hơn thì đó là một. Hai thì cái chuyện Marina gặp thì coi chừng có hợp mà bỏ cái sản phẩm vô. Vì trước thì trước khi Marina bán mấy cái sản phẩm ở trên Amazon thì bỏ mấy cái ống hút ở trong cái hộp mềm lắm, thì mấy cái ống hút đó bị đè ở trong mấy cái envelope hay là mấy cái hộp Amazon, thì Marina phải đổi tất cả cái hộp này thì tốn tiền nhiều lắm. Rồi coi chừng cái này nha thì có nói hay đó, đúng không? Xin lỗi nói hơi sơ để tiếng Việt. But it's very good to hear your Vietnamese, right? Nói giống như cái bé phải không? Cũng hơi giống một chút. But that's good to hear. You please translate.
So I will briefly interpret that back. And so there are 2 points from Marina. The first is the mindset that I would like to ask new sellers. Do you want to sell this product in 1 to 2 years only, or do you want this to last longer and more well-rounded business plan? Therefore, you need to select the right product and the right mindset. Otherwise, you can see in COVID 2020, a lot of sales of medical masks, but after that, no one buys it anymore, no sales. And secondly is pay attention to cost optimization with the packaging at first, because especially physically when you sell on Amazon, the bigger boxes and also the specs will cost more than on more optimized options. So yeah, that's the 2 opinions.
Thank you to all our guest speakers. Well, the sellers, the first year has a lot of challenges, right? But then I'm super happy that you guys are here sharing your successful brands and then the journey on Amazon. And I believe that all of the prospect sellers here will learn a lot from your sharing. To wrap up, I think from Chính, with your experience, how important is the preparation for the first year to prepare for the long-term success to build a business on Amazon? And what are the, if you need to choose 3 to 5 most important pillars that sellers has to prepare in the first phases for the first year selling on Amazon? Và câu hỏi dành cho chị Trinh là thế này ạ, tức là trong năm đầu tiên thì như các anh chị đã nghe các bạn seller đều chia sẻ rằng là năm đầu tiên là năm mà sẽ có nhiều khó khăn nhất, có nhiều lỗi nhất. Thế nhưng mà nếu mà bây giờ để vượt qua được, để tránh được cái lỗi đó chẳng hạn, thì cái bước chuẩn bị sẽ là rất là quan trọng. Vậy thì với chị Trinh, với kinh nghiệm mà đã làm việc với nhiều seller, nhiều nhà bán hàng ở trên Amazon, thì cái việc chuẩn bị trong năm đầu tiên đó nó sẽ quan trọng như thế nào? Và nếu mà được lựa chọn từ 3 tới 5 những cái yếu tố quan trọng nhất mà seller phải chuẩn bị để bán hàng trong năm đầu tiên thì đó sẽ là những điều gì? Mời chị ạ.
Cảm ơn câu hỏi ạ. Nhưng mà trước khi trả lời thì cho Trinh hỏi là anh em đã mệt chưa ạ? Chưa thì cho chàng pháo tay để tỉnh lại cái nào.
So I know you're still awake.
Yeah, bởi vì đây là một cái câu hỏi rất là hay mà mình có thể tất cả những người ngồi ở đây, bởi vì chúng ta đều là những người mới bắt đầu bán hàng ở trên Amazon và mình sẽ phải biết là mình cần chuẩn bị cái gì. Thì đầu tiên đó là Trinh sẽ trả lời như thế này, là dù bạn là ai, bạn là startup nè, bạn là SME, nó là những doanh nghiệp nhỏ, hoặc là thậm chí là một cái doanh nghiệp siêu to khổng lồ, thì bán hàng trên Amazon vẫn là một cái sự kinh doanh nghiêm túc. Thì kinh doanh nghiêm túc có nghĩa là gì ạ? Mình phải đòi hỏi mình phải làm gì? Chuẩn bị. Không có chuẩn bị thì có nghĩa là gì ạ? Fail là thất bại ạ. Nên là 4 thứ mà Trinh hồi sáng Trinh đã nói rồi, hôm nay Trinh nhắc lại thôi. Thì đầu tiên là trước khi bán hàng trên Amazon mình phải làm gì? Thứ nhất, bỏ thời gian ra tìm hiểu Amazon cái. Tìm hiểu cho kỹ nha, là mình phải tìm hiểu cái mô hình kinh doanh của mình, cái mô hình kinh doanh ở trên Amazon nó có đáng cho mình đầu tư không cái đã. Cái thứ hai nữa là mình tìm hiểu cái cấu trúc chi phí ở trên Amazon. Thứ ba nữa là mình phải tìm hiểu được những cái khó khăn thách thức, tại vì Amazon không phải là màu hồng nha. Rồi cái thứ hai mình cần phải chuẩn bị là gì ạ? Đội ngũ nhân sự. Tại vì thường thì Việt Nam giỏi mà, nên là mấy sếp hay giao là Trinh em làm luôn cho anh B2B, B2C, xong rồi bán hàng online nội địa tùm lum hết trơn luôn. Cuối cùng là gì? Mua Trinh bệnh là fail hết tất cả mọi thứ. Nên là mình cố gắng tạo một cái đội ngũ riêng để dành cho Amazon thôi. 1-2 người cũng được, 1 người cũng được. Từ từ khi mà cái business nó tốt hơn rồi thì mình có thể tăng người lên. Và cái thứ ba là gì ạ? Sản phẩm và sản phẩm. Phải biết được là mình bán cái sản phẩm gì cái đã, mà sản phẩm của mình có điểm gì mạnh, sản phẩm của mình có cái gì khác biệt, mình có thể cạnh tranh được với lại đối thủ thực tế hay không, có thể là giá rẻ hơn, có thể là những cái sản phẩm của mình có những cái điểm gì đó giải quyết được những cái trăn trở của khách bên Mỹ á. Họ đánh giá khách hàng đối thủ toàn 1-2 sao, mình lên đó mình đọc để mình copy xem người ta chê cái gì, mình về mình ngó cái đó để mình cải tiến nó. Và cái thứ tư là cực kỳ quan trọng, đó là gì? Bởi vì Amazon là kinh doanh mà, kinh doanh thì mình phải có kế hoạch kinh doanh, đúng không? Và nên có kế hoạch kinh doanh dài hạn một tí. 2 năm đi ạ, mà tốt nhất là mình làm lên 3 năm, giống như mình xây xưởng vậy đó. Thường là để mà quyết định xây xưởng thì mình phải có kế hoạch kinh doanh, đúng không? 3 năm. Tại vì năm đầu chắc chắn là lỗ mấy tháng rồi, thì Amazon cũng sẽ như vậy. Và thêm một cái quan trọng nữa là giữ tinh thần thép. Nói gì nói chứ nãy giờ mọi người chia sẻ là năm đầu siêu mệt, và thực ra là tất cả các anh chị cũng sẽ như vậy. Tức là mình đang rất là hăm hở nghiên cứu Amazon, nhiều khi thức đêm mỏi bụng vì Amazon, nhưng mà sau đó nữa thì mình bán được hàng và mình thấy được là doanh số nó bé, xong rồi doanh số sẽ thấy từ từ tăng lên, và 3 tháng đầu lỗ chắc luôn. Không lỗ là không phải bán ở trên Amazon, nhưng mà mình biết được là lỗ, tại sao lỗ, nguyên nhân lỗ ở đâu, mà mình lỗ mình cảm thấy hạnh phúc vì được lỗ, bởi vì hàng hóa của mình bắt đầu đã được người ở nước ngoài biết tới nè. Mình biết được là mình lỗ bởi vì mình đầu tư nhiều cho quảng cáo, mình đầu tư nhiều cho thương hiệu. Rồi sau đó nữa thì mình biết được sáng thứ 6 của mình sẽ có break even, giống như là mình hòa vốn chẳng hạn. Rồi từ từ thì những cái giai đoạn tiếp theo thì mình mới bắt đầu hài lòng được. Và đặc biệt đối với những cái doanh nghiệp sản xuất, nên mình quen số triệu đô qua Amazon mình bán 2.000 tuần, 3.000 tuần xong thì, nhưng mà cái đó là cái rất là bình thường ở một cái kinh doanh thương mại điện tử. Nên là cố gắng giữ tinh thần thép, manage expectation, có nghĩa là giữ vững cái tinh thần và mình biết được là từng cái bước mình cần phải làm gì. Và đừng lo, bởi vì Amazon rất là hiểu, và Amazon ở đây, mọi người ở đây đều đây ở phía dưới toàn là những cái bạn chuyên viên của Amazon, đều hiểu được là mỗi một cái giai đoạn đều có những khó khăn, và cái gì khó khăn thì tìm đến Amazon. Cảm ơn ạ.
Yes, so great interpretation for that. I would understand that all type of sellers at the beginning, whether you SME, startup, large corporation, a lot of preparation is needed. So failing to plan is planning to fail. And some tips for you: you need to understand the Amazon business model, the cost structure, the challenges, onboarding, and also you need to prepare your team accordingly. You don't need a big team at first. It could be a designation of 1 to 2 person, and then you can grow according to your scale. After that, it's the product, what to sell, what is the USP, the differences, how to compete, pricing, and read the reviews of your customers to understand what they are looking for or not satisfied with the other competitors. And with planning, it should be long-term, 2 to 3 years, and that's the minimum. At first, you might be a little bit down mood because you see some loss in terms of revenue and investment, but that's why it takes a long time. And resilience, keep your resilience. Once your brand is known, all the loss in terms of investment, etc. at the beginning will become so worthy. And for the multi-million revenue companies, the first order might be 2,000, 3,000 revenue, but it's okay, it's a stepping stone for you to grow bigger. And then the final message for you is that Amazon Global Selling Vietnam is here and we're ready to serve you anytime, anywhere.
Thanks, Ms. Trinh, for the great sharing. I think it's super inspiring for the sellers to know that at first there's always challenges, but then when you overcome it, there's another way for you, right? I would like to say thank you for the guest speakers, the successful sellers to be here today, especially guys who fly over from Singapore to Vietnam to share your experience. I really appreciate that. And I believe that the section already shared with the sellers over here a lot of great information, insightful information. And then we hope that you can learn a lot from the sellers. And if any questions were not answered, you can always contact Amazon Global Selling Vietnam through Zalo official account, and then the account management team in the room too. Just the last word, see you guys next year in the other room, the room for existing sellers. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for our speaker for your sharing with us. So, I think we have so useful information.